up, guys? Welcome to the Shiro podcast. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Cassie.
And today we're talking about how to find your passion.
Yes. You know, I wish that there was a podcast on how to find your passion back when I was like 16 years old. No, maybe more like 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know what your passion
No,
was?
I definitely knew what my passion was, but my parents made me doubt that that's what I was actually good at.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just wish I had listened to my heart sooner, but it's okay because I ended up getting where I wanted to be. But yeah,
Interesting.
but it was
Alright.
definitely a journey.
Well, maybe we can take this podcast back in time.
Yeah. So any of you out there who are young and unsure and very passionate, like, oh, just listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Just listen. You're going to learn so much.
Well, we've got a question from a fan. I thought this was a good place to start
Okay.
because it's quite an interesting question and I think it gives us a lot to riff off. So this is Metal Bunny 86
Ooh, I like that name.
and she asked the question on YouTube.
Okay.
I get the parts that you should really go for it, it being the one thing you love. But my problem is, how do you find what you love? I have all these ideas of what I should be doing instead of what I am doing, which is an office job I am very good at, but doesn't bring me that satisfaction. But none of those ideas is the one. I'm 13, it feels impossible to find something else now. Don't know what to do.
Okay. First of all, it's not impossible. Everything's always possible. And sometimes there isn't the one. Maybe there's the 3 or the 5 or something like that. And this is going to sound very simple, but everyone needs to figure it out by themselves. Do more of what makes you happy and less of what doesn't. And it's going to be an experiment. And you're going to have to keep trying so that you can figure it out. And I think it's great that you have an office job that you are very good at. I think that's wonderful. At least you're not suffering at it. You know exactly what you're doing. You're very confident. So keep that so that the financials still flow in. But when you have time on the side, start playing with hobbies or something else that maybe could turn into your next career. You never know. But keep that side job going as you figure it out, especially because you're not sure what your passion is. But you'll know. It's kind of like when you fall in love with someone, it just sort of happens.
You're such a
right?
romantic. I love
But don't you
it.
think so? Don't you
Yeah.
think finding your passion, it's the same thing. It's your heart, right? So you'll know when you just won't be able to stop thinking about it. You like get so excited when you get to do it. You get the butterflies, and it just brings so much joy to you that you could do it even if you weren't being paid to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually love that because the one thing that came to mind when I always hear, find your passion, I don't ever think you find it, right? You don't just wake up one day and all of a sudden it's there.
No.
So I think that's very misleading and I think people are waiting for that like magic moment. So I'm here to tell you that magic moment doesn't happen. It's about discovering.
Yeah.
And I love the analogy you just gave about dating and falling in love because that's exactly it. It's you're not just in love with someone out of the blue. You don't just walk down the street and see them and it's like, oh my God, I love you. You go on the first date.
Yeah.
You see what they're like.
Yeah.
You try them out. You go on a second date.
Yeah.
You try different things with them. And then you cultivate that emotion and then you fall in love.
Yeah.
I see that as passion. It's like you never just wake up. You have to try something, right? So first date is the equivalent of trying something. Then you see, do you like it? Is it worth trying it again?
Yeah.
Maybe it is. So then you try it again.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, I really like this. Okay, you fan that flame. You try it again. You give another piece of yourself to that act or whatever.
Yeah.
And then eventually, you're like, wow, I'm really passionate about it.
Yeah.
But I think the entire is a misconception of I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually one freeing thing for me. Once I realized that, it actually was really freeing.
Yeah. No, I agree. It is like dating.
And then the other thing that she says is, I'm 13, it feels impossible to find something else now. So I love that you said nothing's impossible.
And 30's not old.
Right?
It's not. I'm 30. I'm not old.
But when you think about it, and this is like, when you put it in perspective, you're going to live to what? At least 80?
Yeah,
At
and then
least.
you're going to find new passions even when you're 79.
Right.
Like, you're going to find passions every day. I found a passion for drinking matcha lattes like 5 years
You
ago.
discovered the passion
I
for drinking your
matcha lattes like 5 years ago, and I love them so much.
I love that analogy.
Everyone needs to try it.
But being, right, because if you think you're going to live until you're at least 80, 30, you're not even halfway through your life.
No.
So I think that just put in an age, like you said, like discover new things when you're 79. That's the beauty of life.
Yeah.
So the second you put like an expiration date on it, you're trapping yourself. And then the other thing I really wanted to touch upon here is she said that she's really good at her job, but it doesn't bring her satisfaction. And I've got to say that completely, I don't want to say wasted my life, but absolutely actually took me in the wrong direction for a couple of years. Is the satisfaction I got from being good at something versus the actual pleasure I got from doing it. So when we started Quest, I started in the shipping department because basically Quest started out, we were using rolling pins and knives in a rented kitchen, and then I was shipping from my living room floor. So then once we started getting bigger, we went and we were shipping out a garage. And then once we started getting bigger, we rented a space. And so, incrementally got bigger. And so I just learned along the way, okay, well, what do I have to learn now? And then the next step, what do I have to learn now? And because I was good at adapting and because I was good at learning a new skill that I needed to make the company function, I was getting a lot of praise from it. And I was getting a lot of pats on the back of like, oh my God, you figured this out. And like, wow, you know how to do that. And I was getting so much pleasure and self-esteem, I think, from the pats on the back that I was getting. I ended up being in that department and running it for like 2 or 3 years. And by the end, I was miserable. And so I think that that's interesting that she said that because it's very easy to get trapped in how something makes you feel from like the momentary versus what your heart actually wants.
Yeah.
So have you ever been in a position like that where you weren't necessarily passionate about it, but you spent a hell of a lot of time doing it?
Yeah.
And then if you weren't passionate about it, did you change it so that you could become passionate? Or change what you were doing, I guess.
So I have a similar situation to yours, except yours was in the real world workforce. Mine was in college. And so my parents wanted me to be a doctor, and I've talked about the story many times, but just a quick recap. My parents always wanted me to be a doctor. They wanted my sister to be a lawyer. I come from a Chinese Vietnamese family, and so being a doctor is something that's very highly regarded, very prestigious, and something that all parents most Asian parents want their kids to be. And so because I was good at math and good at science, or at least better than most, I suppose. I wasn't the best, but I knew how to get a good grade. Okay, let's just say that.
You were very good.
I was, okay. So
humble Cassie.
So anyway, I think that is to my detriment though, because I had good grades. And I wanted to be a fashion designer. My parents were like, why would you waste your brain on doing that? Like, your brain knows how to handle, like, numbers and science and research, so you should become a doctor. And they're like, basically, if you're a clothing designer, you're really just, like, a fashion slave. Like, they were really, like, talking down the whole fashion designing. They really didn't want me to be it.
But you already knew this is what I want to do. So you'd identified the passion that you...
I mean, I always wanted to be a fashion designer. And it's wonderful that today I am. But it took me a while to get there because my parents said that I shouldn't do it. You know, when you're young and impressionable and you think your parents are right and know everything, and you don't want to screw up your future, so you end up going to college and getting a degree in biology. And so that's what I did. And though I was getting the A's and the grades and doing very well in school, I really didn't like it. My heart was dying. I felt like my soul was shriveling to nothingness every time I was in class learning about something that I didn't want to be learning about because I wanted so much to let my creative juices flow. And so I would constantly be doodling in the margins of my paper and things like that. And so eventually, in order to get myself out of this, because I told my parents, I don't want to major in biology anymore. I don't want to go to medical school. I don't want to do this anymore. They'd be like, no, you have to. We were yelling at each other. It was really, really terrible. I was crying a lot. There were dark times when I thought that I couldn't make my parents happy or make myself happy. So maybe I should just end everything. Like, it really got to some really bad places. And I'm scanning through the story really fast because I feel like I've talked about it a lot. But if you guys want to learn more about it, it's probably on my blog somewhere about my journey to becoming a fashion designer. Anyway, so I sabotaged myself by dropping out of organic chemistry, which was the last class that I needed to take in order to take the MCAT. And so I sabotaged myself, and my parents were really upset, and I ended up applying for a job over in Boston that was in fashion buying. So that was my first step towards that. But my parents and I didn't talk for a few years because they were so upset that I had ruined my future. Right. And so in that sense, relating back to what you were saying, yeah, I was good at the sciences and strong at math. And all those awards I was getting, the grades that I were getting were almost like, I mean, it was true, I earned it, but it gave me a false sense of like, this is what I should keep doing. Like the pat on the backs that you got, I don't know, maybe raises or promotions or whatever corporate world does, right? Yeah. And to keep you on track and feeling good. But those feel goods are so momentary because it doesn't string me along for the entire journey. Whereas I could be a fashion designer, maybe not even a successful one, and just not making that much money, but like really loving going to work every day versus making, for example, 4 times more money being a doctor and just kind of hating going into that job. I think you need to pick what is important to you. And for me, it's about making my heart happy. Yeah. That's a really long story.
Yeah, no, I think that's so powerful because I think so many people get trapped in pressures from family. I think definitely when you're younger, right? Like some people innately have a drive towards something. You already knew that you were very passionate about fashion. So I think that's incredible and a step ahead of a lot of people that actually don't know what their passion is right now. But then also just getting stuck in a direction where because of pressure from your family, because of social pressure, because you're like, oh, well, I have to earn a living and how am I going to pay rent? And, and so people get trapped in so many different arenas and then what they're really passionate about and what really lights a fire under them, the flame just dissipates because you're not putting fuel to it. So the one thing that we often get is how do we find it, right? Or as we said, how do we discover it? So you knew you wanted to get into fashion. Did you know that like from as young as you can possibly remember, or were there other things that you loved and it transitioned into fashion?
Well, I always loved drawing, but I always loved drawing girls in dresses.
Right.
And so I would say by the time I was like 8, I realized that I wanted to be like either a evening gown designer or a wedding dress designer. And so I would always draw on the weekends or after I was done with my homework. And so if you go to my parents' house, I have binders full of wedding dresses and evening gowns.
I love that.
From when I was very young. And all my figures have really big heads and really tiny waists.
That's cute. But that's cool in taking something that you just innately enjoy.
Yes.
And then evolving it over time. Because if you like drawing, you could have gone into any arena. But you like drawing women, you like drawing women in dresses. And so that developed over time into the passion for fashion. And then now you're a fashion designer, you have your own clothing line. And did you have other passions or was it just drawing? And the reason why I ask is people say, how do I know what to follow? And so there's 2 elements. There's one crowd of people, I think, that have so many passions, they don't know which one to do because they want to do it all. And then there's the other side where people don't know what their passion is. So let's go down the rabbit hole of I have so many passions, I don't know what to do, and then we can attack the other one.
Okay, well, I have a lot of passions.
Okay, so how do you know which one to do? That was a perfect setup.
Because I really like wiener dogs, but I don't know. Like, I'm not going to make a career out of wiener dogs. Like, I'm sure I could figure out how to do that, but I just really like wiener dogs. I just like wiener dogs.
You're not going to be breeding wiener dogs.
No, I just like them a lot. I like their body shape and their little toes. Like, I like that because I'm passionate about it. I have a collection of Beanie Baby wiener dogs. Like, I like them.
That's too cute.
Okay, and then there's other things that are more career-oriented that I could just be doing all the time. So, obviously, I love drawing dresses. I love drawing clothes on figures. But the other thing that I really love doing is I love selling things. I just have always been selling something ever since I was in middle school, even before I even knew what business was. I just wanted to create something and charge someone for it. And I thought it was really fun. And I thought it was fun that someone would believe in something that I just made and actually find enough worth to exchange it for money. I thought it was really funny. And so that's I really like that. I think it's great. And so that's why I love fashion design, because then you can charge someone for something that you like doing, which is drawing dresses or creating clothes. So that's how I found that I wanted to be a fashion designer.
So you basically took the passions that you love doing and put them together and made it work.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could have been wiener dogs and drawing. Could have made clothes for wiener dogs. I don't know, but I just wanted to make clothes for people. So that's what that is. But I think it can really be anything. You can love anything. You can love dirt and make it into a business, because we're talking about career passion, I'm guessing, right? Okay, so that means you have to find a way to monetize. So you can really love dirt and you can make it a business by making some amazing fertilizer. I mean, you can make a business out of anything just by making something that's better than what's already out there. Bring some new value into an old industry, bring your perspective into it, and you can really turn anything into a business. Yeah.
And I think that really does stem from the passion of it, right?
Because, yes, it does.
The amount of hours and time that we work is insane. So when you're putting in that much time and effort into something, you better love it, because you're going to have problems. You're going to have failures. You're going to, be at points where like you've got a hurdle that you have to climb over. And if you're not truly passionate, like if that fire isn't burning inside you, you're never going to push past the pain.
No.
And so that's why I think actually having passion with your business or whatever your career is so important. But I also think like sometimes if you can't figure it out yet, like I still think it's still important to make sure that you discover that passion, experiment, see what's out there, because living a life that is passionless, I think you've only got one life to live.
You do. You only have one life to live.
So like, for instance, for me, I loved drawing when I was a kid. I drew as well all the time.
Except you're, like, infinitely better than me. You are so good.
Oh, bless you.
Lisa draws basically, like, a photograph. Like, that's how good it is.
It takes me forever, but yeah, I'm a little OCD with my details on my drawing.
I love your drawings.
Oh, thank you. But even with that, like growing up, that like with what you were saying, like every day I would come home from school and I would sit on the floor with a notepad or a paper, anything I could find to draw on. Wow. And I would have a pencil and that was it.
Wow.
And I would draw every day, all the time. And I loved it so much that my mum was always like, you're going to be an artist, right? And that was kind of almost established from my mum's side of it. My dad wanted me to go into academics, but my mum always supported the arts. Anyway, so I'm drawing a lot. I have a passion for it. Now it's time to go to college and I have to decide my major. And while I was towards the end of my school career drawing, the teachers would grade you on experimentation as well. So I couldn't just always hand in drawings. I had to do sculptures. I had to do paintings. I had to do charcoal. And I hated all of that.
Huh.
And eventually it got to a point where I was butting heads with my teacher all the time because I just wanted to do art, like pencil. And he was giving me E's. And I was failing.
Wait, what are E's?
E's, like you fail.
Like F's?
Like F, yeah, an E.
But they're E's?
You guys don't do an E?
No.
Really?
We go A, B, C, D, F.
So F is fail for you guys. Oh, no, we get E's.
There's no such thing as an E.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have F's?
We do. We call it fail. Like you just failed the class.
So E and then fail.
Yeah.
We don't even have an E.
Yeah, we have an E. I got an E.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't know E's existed.
Yeah. Maybe it gives you another opportunity to just like not fail.
Anyway, totally not on the point, but E's. Okay, continue.
So I got an E.
Okay.
In art.
Yeah.
And I just went home to my mum and I was like devastated because this is like what I'm passionate
what you're
about.
good at.
I love it.
Yeah.
Like, I've practiced and I'm good. And my mum turns around to me one day and she's like, look, they're judging you on the different types of things that you can do, not just this one skill. And the question you have to ask yourself is, are you more interested in being right and doing good pencil work, or are you interested in getting good grades? And I was like, oh, that's a tough question. And I was like, I ultimately want good grades because I wanted to go to college. And she said, then just do what the teacher says and crush it. and don't give any excuses. So I flipped a switch, went back to school. In my final year at school, I did literally everything my teacher said. Do a clay sculpture, cool, I'll do it. Do a charcoal, cool, I do it. And I ended up getting straight A's. But I hated it so much. So now I took a passion of mine that I loved, ended up hating it, and realized it was actually the most freeing thing, because I realized I can't do this as a career. Because unless I'm willing to just draw and try and sell it, I can't be an artist for hire.
Yeah, that's very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're being creative for someone else, but if you're not on the same page, it could be a lot of suffering.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was very enlightening for me, because some people love art so much they do it for the rest of their lives and they do it as a career. And right, we have graphic designers and things like that. And I respect that more than you can possibly imagine. I just realized it wasn't for me, because in doing something I was so passionate about and getting results I wasn't happy with took away the joy.
So do you think that's why you don't draw as much right now?
I think now I've taken the passion for creating and put it in a different form. So then I went to college, I studied filmmaking, which is another creative form I wanted to direct.
Yeah.
And now obviously we have a studio and we do content, so we're very creative there. So I think I realized over let's say the last 20 years, I took the passion that I had for creating and I just adapted it to make it fit my personality and what I was going through each stage of my life. And I think that's one thing that people worry about, is like, I'm passionate now, but in a year, like, they're like, oh my God, I'm not passionate. Well, I can't change a course because now I've just spent the last year doing this one thing. And I think that then paralyzes people, because you do change and you do encounter new things.
And I think that's totally okay. But let's not be afraid that that's going to happen, because anything can happen tomorrow or in the next minute that could change the course of everything. But let's work hard for what you really believe in right now, and then worry about it when you get there. Because you're going to learn so much that who knows what type of person you'll be a year from now. I say just go for it. Yeah.
So in going for it, some people then find the difficulty of making it, let's say, into a profession.
Yes. So that's why I think if you already have a job, keep the job going as you play with it at night, on the side, on the weekends. And at some point, if you feel like now your hobby is turning into a profession, you do need more time, then maybe save up so that you can essentially buy time, right? So that you can really cultivate your new passion, new career. I mean, yeah, there was a time when I had no job at all, like no income except for teaching fitness classes, so that I could cultivate my passion and give myself, most importantly, the space in my brain to think big. Because when you are in an office job and you're really working hard for somebody else and trying to be good at what you do, you have so much energy for that by the time you get home, you're really tired. You don't have that creative juice left in you. And so if you can allow yourself to just be really open, to have space to get away from the toxicity, that was my situation. Maybe your situation maybe your situation isn't toxic, but maybe you just need space. Then create that for yourself. I think that's really, really important, especially if it's going to be a creative profession. You just need space. You really do. And you don't have to know what your next step is. You just have to let yourself have enough room to think about what the next step is. And I know it's really scary to quit a job and not know where you're going, but I also think that was one of the best things I ever did for myself, because I was in fashion buying, and I was having a terrible time at work. People making me feel like I was stupid. I thought I was terrible at my job. I hated it. And at the same time, you know, my parents being like, well, I told you so. Like, you should have just stuck with science and stuff like that. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And so I just quit. I just straight up quit, didn't know what I was going to do, but knew that I was going to figure it out. And there were some things in the works, but definitely not anything concrete, like at all. Like, I invested my money into my yoga bag business. You know, like I said, I flew to China, trying to find a manufacturer. I bought the ticket on Friday, left on Sunday, like that, all that, you know, I did crazy stuff. But you can't do crazy stuff unless you give yourself the room to do crazy stuff. And I think that's the beauty of life. You should totally do crazy things and take a risk on yourself and your success, or else you'll never know.
And what I love, though, actually is a really good point. As you were talking, it dawned on me. You had a passion for clothes. You got what you thought was your dream job. you did it, you hated it, but you realized it was what you were doing, not the actual passion itself. And you didn't give up on that passion.
Right. So that kind of goes back to what that person was saying. What if I'm not going to like it in a year? That's totally exactly what happened to me.
Right.
I totally thought I was going to love it. I thought for sure I was on my life path. Like, this was it. And then I would say 6 months into it, I was like, oh, this doesn't feel right. I'm actually hating it. And every Sunday night I cry myself to bed and I wake up basically wanting to die because I don't want to go into work. And you know what? It's okay because you are in charge of your life. And if you're unhappy, then quit and figure it out.
Yeah.
You have the control to make yourself happy. So figure out what it is and keep trying until you find that happiness.
Yeah.
Or create that happiness.
Reassessing, I think, is a major deal because, like what you just said, like sometimes, you know, you change and you grow, and what you're interested in now, you may not be interested in a year. And so I think reassessing how you're feeling is so important, and then not digging your heels in like, this is going to be my life career, so that now you've committed to it, and then 20 years down the line, you're miserable because you had told yourself 20 years ago, but this is what I'm going to do, this is what I love, and now you're stuck in something that you can't get out of.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you have to be able to be vulnerable and honest and not be so egotistical, because sometimes you may announce to the world like, well, I'm going to do this and it's going to be amazing, and then a year later, maybe it's not so amazing. Maybe you don't want to do it. Like, don't just stick into it so that you feel like you're not a quitter.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think it's so okay to stop doing something because you don't want to do it anymore. Like, don't keep doing stuff because you're afraid people are going to think of you a certain way. And I think a lot of people do that because they want to, quote unquote, save face or save their reputation. Like, who cares? This is your life. Who cares what auntie whatever from the other side of the family thinks of you? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's what you think of yourself. So just go for it.
Yeah.
I think giving yourself the freedom to fail hard and succeed hard, like, that's true liberation.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to find your passion. That's how you're really going to be successful.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about what other people think of you.
So true.
Yeah.
Now, what about passion from people who they just love to do it, but they don't necessarily want it as a career?
Well, then I think they should just do it.
Like, just as like a side thing. And
yeah, I mean, unless you have a ton of savings and you can live off of it, and you can every day you can just wake up and do whatever you want to do and not worry about money, then that's cool. But then if not, then you don't have to turn your hobby into a career. You really don't have to.
Yeah, and I guess the reason why I say it is I've had to assess certain situations, go, wow, I really love this. Do I want to do this though permanently? Right? Or do I want to do this for the next year? Because I love it, I think sometimes I do, but then I have to really dig down and assess.
Like what?
Take working out.
Okay.
So I love lifting weights, as you know.
Yeah.
I have such a passion for it. I do it every single day, 5 days a week, without fail, of course, unless something major happens. But I love it so much. And so a question I get asked a lot is, are you going to compete? Are you going to compete?
Oh.
Now I think about, well, I love it. Like, what would it feel like to be on stage? And so I've really had to kind of break it down and go, I love it so much, but am I willing to dedicate the amount of time and energy it's going to take me to get to that level? And so I guess that's what I mean. Like, that's how I assess.
Yeah.
If there's something I'm passionate about, do I go down that path and commit? Or is it just something that is part of, you know, a hobby of mine, but I don't actually, like, commit my life to it?
Yeah, that's interesting because sometimes by turning something into a career, it takes all the passion out of it.
It does so much.
That's very interesting.
And just the intensity, right? Like, don't you think that when we do things, we kind of give it our 100%? And so the question is, am I willing to give it that 100%?
Right. Sometimes things are better in small increments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think you just have to try it. And I think for you, it looks like you know that if you compete, it's no longer going to be like you time. You're doing it for yourself. And now all of a sudden you're doing it for the audience and for the judges and for everybody else. And like, now what is the intention behind the workout? So I think you understand that. But I think for someone else who may not know, like, well, then try a little bit of it. Like, say you really like knitting woolly hats.
Woolly hats.
Woolly hats. I learned this from you.
I love that you just said woolly hats.
Woolly hats are beanies, by the way, for us Americans.
I said to Cassie, should we make heroic woolly hats? And she's like, what on earth is a woolly hat? I'm like, a hat made of wool. And she's like, you mean a beanie? Sorry.
So, for example, you really like knitting woolly hats and they bring you so much joy. You just put on your favorite music, you make woolly hats, and you give one to your sister and your mom, your aunt and your dog for Christmas time or something. But then all of a sudden you're like, okay, maybe I can make some money from making woolly hats. Well, then maybe you open a little Etsy shop, make like 2 woolly hats and see if anyone buys it. And if you get some joy out of getting a sale and if you love producing them, then that's cool. But if it gets to a point where like now you're mini mass producing them in your living room and you're stressed and you just hate making woolly hats now because you're making them for other people, then maybe stop making woolly hats for other people. And I think you can't know until you try. So let's not be afraid of something until you've been there and you've tried it. I say, just go all out with everything that you do so you know. And if you don't like it, pull back. You don't have to get it right the first time.
Yeah.
And most people don't.
That's really good advice. Like basically test, right?
Yeah, everything in life is a test.
Yeah.
Even with our diets, right?
Yeah.
And for you
Yeah.
especially, like everything is a test. A little bit, this doesn't work. Oh, this works a little bit more. Like it's just
that's interesting.
it's how life works. It's checks and balances
cycle of
and
life.
testing and experimenting. Like that's life. I don't think anyone really knows for sure the answer to anything. It's
Yeah.
just what works the best in this moment and what makes us happy in this moment as we continue going forward.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like it's such a key takeaway that I feel like we need to keep repeating it. It's like don't put so much pressure on yourself to have to discover it or find it, right? Like just test.
Yeah.
Try some new things. And that's kind of, remember how I was talking about the 2 buckets, right? The bucket of the people who don't know what their passion is. Because you've got the people who have so much passion, they're not sure which one to do as a career and which one to do as a personal, which we've touched upon that.
Yeah.
But the other side of it where people just don't know, I think it goes to trying things, right? It's you don't know what you don't know. And so if you're not willing to try, if you're not willing to get out your comfort zone and try new things, then you'll never know if it's something that actually sparks something inside you.
It's always interesting for me to think about what kind of life it would be like to be a person who doesn't know what their passion is.
Because you've never had that.
I don't know what that feels like. And this is definitely not me looking down at someone who doesn't have a passion, because I've met people before who have asked me the question, like, how do I know what my passion is? I totally get it. But yeah, I'm just saying that I don't know what that feels like. I've never felt unpassionate. I feel like I am too passionate sometimes about like everything. Yeah. Have you ever felt just like very generic about life?
I actually have. And that was weird because it wasn't that I didn't have passions, but it was I felt like I wasn't tapping into them enough. And so going back to Quest, it's after I moved from shipping to our media department, you know, that was where my roots were from. It was going back to creative. It was going back to filmmaking that I'd studied at college. And so I was like, okay, this is it. This is exciting. Like, I'm going to build like this studio within Quest. And Nick, our CMO, had the same vision. And we were just like so excited to build this studio within Quest Nutrition. And we were doing commercials. We did the show with you. Like, we were doing content that was so much fun.
Yeah.
And then after a while, because it was all new, I loved it.
Yeah.
But after a while, it wasn't new anymore. And I felt like we were doing cool stuff, but I wasn't tapping into my passion anymore. And that's when I had to reassess, because that was really weird for me. Because I was still creating.
Okay.
I had built this studio within Quest. So I'd done everything I wanted to do, but I didn't have that fire anymore inside me.
You know, now that you talk about that, I get periods of times when I feel that way about even creating content for the Blog Pilates YouTube channel. I've been making workout videos like forever. It's got to be at least 550 workout videos out there that I've done.
You need to count.
I know. I don't know. I don't know how many there are, but there are times when I just feel like, oh my gosh, like I've taught a crunch and a sit up and a rollover like so many times. Like I don't know what to do anymore. But it's about creating something new for yourself to make it exciting, because I still love making workout videos. I just don't want to be making the same workout videos. So in a series that we're releasing for October, we're doing something that really got me super excited. It's going to be like a heroic type of superhero workouts. And so I dress up as different characters from different comic books and anime and animations. For example, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Sailor Moon, Chun-Li from Street Fighter. Sam even dressed up as Ken, and we had a little battle on the street. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. And who else was there? Oh, Catwoman. And so it brought an element of creativity. I got to dress up. We got to make these mini movie trailers, and I did my bread and butter, you know, like my workout, which I love doing, but it made me feel excited again. So I think a lot of times you just have to figure out how to breathe life back into what you're doing, because you obviously, like, you're very creative. You love doing that stuff. I think it was just about making it new again for you.
Yeah. What made you then go from, this is another workout video.
Yeah.
I'm kind of feeling a little bored.
Yeah.
Did you then tell yourself, I have to do something new? Like, what was the things that you told yourself throughout to get to that result? Because take anyone in any situation where they're doing something they fundamentally love but are not loving anymore. What are the things that you told yourself or asked yourself to get you to bring that fire back, fuel that, right, flame?
Yeah.
What do you tell yourself? Like, what can people at home take from what you did to get there as well?
Well, first, you have to realize it. And so for me, I was realizing it within, but it was also being reflected in the views I was getting and the subscribers I was getting. Because somehow when you're not passionate about your work, it shows in your content and the engagement and stuff. And so I knew something was going on. And the fans knew too. It's not like they were saying anything, but like you could tell through the numbers. And so I was just like, well, how do I make this exciting again? And then this year in 2017, we did a lot of different series.
So you asked yourself, how do I make this exciting again? Okay.
I knew
That's
I was still going to make workout videos, but I got to make them better for myself.
Okay.
And so I remembered back to one of the first times I was flown down to LA, you know, by swanky production companies, and they filmed me in front of these pools at mansions in Bel Air, and I was teaching Pilates, and how amazing that was. And I remember how much they told me it costed to rent one of those places, and I was like, oh my gosh, one day I'm going to be able to do that and make amazing workout videos. And so this year I was like, you know what? Let's revisit that dream.
Interesting.
Why don't I go rent out these beautiful locations so that when I'm doing the workouts, not only do I feel inspired because I'm in a new place, because your environment can really change the way you feel about things, but now the popsters, the fans doing the workouts, feel like they're traveling with me to different places too. So that was one of the first things that we did differently in 2017.
So did you reflect back and say, what are the dreams I used to have that I haven't done?
Yeah.
Okay,
And I was like,
interesting.
let's try that. And when we did that, I got so excited about the workout videos that I even watched my own workout videos and be like, yeah, I look good. Like, ooh, that background, that couch looks so good. Like, it got me excited again. And I could tell the views went up, the subscribers went up because I was excited about my content. And then for the October series, it was a roundtable discussion. So every week, Bloggy Fam, which is what we call our employees for Bloggy Fam, we have a team meeting and we talk about, you know, scheduling and whatever. And then we have roundtable discussions about like, what things can we do better? What things are you guys seeing out there? What should we do? What holidays are coming up? And so Halloween is one of my favorite holidays because I get to dress up and I love dressing up. It's always sad because I feel like for Halloween, you can only be one person. But this year, they're like, why don't you dress up as all different types of superhero characters and we'll do a photo shoot. And then I was like, oh my gosh, wait, if we're going to do a photo shoot, then maybe I'll do workouts around that superhero character. And oh my gosh, like it makes so much sense with Heroic. And my mind was just blowing up like crazy. And so we just had that photo shoot and we filmed some mini movie trailers.
And I got a sneak peek.
Lisa just got a sneak
oh my God, I'm
peek.
so excited.
I am so excited because this is breathing creativity and excitement back into the workout videos and things that you don't see other people doing. And I don't like being the same. I don't like being generic. I don't like being vanilla. I want to be me and weird and colorful and crazy. And so that's what we did to breathe life back into our workout videos. And I'm just hoping everyone really likes it. But if not, I like it.
Yeah, but that's so important because it seems like you tapped into multiple things in that situation. You realized there was something you were super passionate about, that passion was dying. You knew you had to change it. So I think that's major. Recognizing that something isn't right, that fire still isn't burning as bright as it used to.
Yeah.
Then going back to like, what were my dreams?
Yeah.
So your dreams were like the big mansion. So that
Yeah.
kind of brought the spark back into you. Doing something fresh, and then it's like, who are you? What are the things that excite you? And you found that it was superheroes, dressing up, you love Halloween. So all these little things that you just reassessed within yourself allowed you to then do these videos that clearly you were so excited about, and it's breathing, like you said, new life into it. Wow, that's a great breakdown of how you take a passion that starts dying and basically fuel to the fire.
Fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
So did you pick yourself up out of your non-motivation state?
Yeah, so literally pretty much the same thing.
Okay.
So we had been doing all these productions. The studio was getting bigger. We started doing different shows. We were doing a transformation show, and we did this show called Inside Quest that my husband was the host. And I loved it so much, and the reason being is we were getting letters about how the show was actually changing people's lives. And while the content we were doing for Quest was so fun, we were doing like music videos and all this stuff. Like, it was fun to make from a creative standpoint.
Yeah.
But I wasn't getting the emotional satisfaction that I was looking for, and I had to really assess that, and I had to break down that and say, like, because I think a lot of people say I should be loving this. Right? Like, I should be like, this is what I've dreamed about, building a studio and having like these big productions where you've got cranes and jibs and set designers and musicians, and like, I should be loving this. And ultimately I wasn't. And I think like not being embarrassed to assess yourself and say, you know what, like, don't put shame to it, embrace it. You're not enjoying this, but why? And then I realized, like, okay, what are the things that I'm actually getting pure emotion from, like, that I'm actually getting satisfaction from? And it was emails and letters from people who were watching Inside Quest and saying, wow, you've changed my life, you've really helped me. And I realized I was living for those comments, and I was like, I have to either change what I'm doing or make it work together, right? And so it was like, okay, now I want to put more time and effort into these shows, because this is where I'm getting my satisfaction from. I'm getting satisfaction from these shows, not from like the commercials we were doing. And so that's how, you know, Inside Quest started spiraling into Impact Theory, and that's kind of what we do now is, you know, our full time is making a difference.
Yeah.
And it has been the most joyful, incredible experience of my life. But I realize this won't last, and I will probably have to keep evolving. It is a good example of how I self-assessed all along the way.
Yeah.
I assess what I'm actually loving, how I bring my passion and what I'm loving together, and making sure that I'm not afraid to change directions.
I think that's really good.
So,
yeah. So you're still doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's just an evolution of it.
Right.
Which I think is so important, because you can't keep doing the same thing forever.
Unless you love it. Like, don't you, like, I don't know necessarily.
Okay, that's
well,
true.
I like
Okay.
how you're nodding, because you're like, I'm not sure that's true. I don't.
I can't.
I was going to say.
Cassie cannot.
I can't either.
Okay.
But maybe, I mean, I don't know.
Okay, maybe, right. I can't speak for everyone in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe some people love the consistency of having the same coffee and the same meal.
As I pick up my coffee.
and the same routine. Maybe some people find comfort in that. I really like change. I really like evolution. I think it's necessary, especially if you want to grow and get smarter, get sharper, get stronger. Because if you don't change something, how are you really exercising your muscles and your brain in a different way? I think you have to change, but I think if you don't want to, that's totally fine. I'm just saying that I like that.
Yeah. And do you find that actually helps fuel the fire? Like, just in the act of changing, it fuels that passion even more?
Yeah, because I think there's so many different faces to your passion. It's not one-dimensional. There's so much discovery within this passion that you may not know about. Like, what if you can make woolly hats out of a different type of yarn? Like, if you wanted to make the same woolly hat, you wouldn't know if you didn't try another type of yarn.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What if you want to make a cashmere woolly hat and it was like the best thing ever? Like, I don't know. I think it's awesome to try changing it up all the time. Yeah. And I thought that is how people create inventions. There is no inventions or innovations if you keep doing the same thing all the time. And
Quote card. That was a good one.
Really? Okay. Ding, 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 ding. So, yeah, that's what I think about evolution and changing and passion. I think at the end of the day, you really do have to listen to your heart. You have to listen to your gut. Sometimes your mind can really talk you out of things. Sometimes logic can talk you out of things that can be some of the best, most amazing experiences that you're ever going to have. I just don't want anyone to look back and regret the fact that they didn't try, because I would so much rather have failed so badly and know that wasn't right than to look back and be like, oh, well, I should have, or I could have, like, it could have been. Like, no, I don't ever want to say that. I just don't. So I think we should all try.
I think there's a famous quote, I think it's Van Gogh, who says, I'd rather die from my passion than from boredom. And
I like that.
That's like
I like that.
It's like so simple,
Yeah.
but like so true.
Yeah.
It's like, we're all going to die. Hate to break it to people.
Yeah.
We're all going to
die.
So if we're all going to die and you've really got one life to live,
Yes.
like, make the choice on how you're going to live it. Are you going to go down the path where you're going to try what you're passionate about? You may fail. You may change your mind. You may stumble. Whatever. But better that than live a life of never trying and playing it safe, right? Being bored of every single day.
Well, I can tell you that when I played it safe, when I was on the tennis team in high school, the games were very boring, but I knew I could win the point if I just tired the opponent out. Like, I knew how to get the ball into different corners if I just hit a certain way. These rallies would go on for like 20 or 30 hits or something, but it was always so much more exciting if I just like full on like just slam that ball. And sometimes it would go into the net, sometimes it would go out, but sometimes it'd be right on the line and just like aced it, and it was so exciting. And so I kind of feel like if you can get one of those exciting ones, like, it feels so much more cool.
Yeah. And there really is like, and I think I've said it quite a few times in this episode about the fire, right? Fuel to the fire. And that's how I see passion, right? It's like it is just exciting, and the more fuel you put, the more the fire comes.
Yeah.
And I feel that inside when I'm doing stuff. And I'm going to keep going back to self-assess, right? Like, is that fire burning? Is it burning bright? What are you doing? Are you like when you, they say when there's a fire, you put like the cloth on it to smother it, to like burn it out.
Okay.
Are you putting the cloth over it and smothering the fire every day? Or are you actually adding fuel to your fire and letting it burn? That's I would kind of ask myself that. And like, I try to get at least once a day. And look, sometimes it's hard, but at least once a day, try to do something that I'm super passionate about. Because look, as you know, when you're doing business and things like that, things will get in the way of that. And so the passion may be the foundation, but on top of that is logistics and painful late nights and having to do math and having to do accounting and your finances and payroll and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying like every day should be full of absolute passion all day, every day, because if you're looking for a career, I don't think that's possible. But is it all for the sake of your passion?
Right.
And that's what I think of. So like every day when we're working towards something and it's painstaking, is it at least in service of your passion?
Right. True. Yeah. So if there's any of you guys out there who feel like you're still searching or trying to discover your passion, go back to your gut, to your heart, and ask yourself, what am I attracted to? What makes me internally happy? And just try a little bit more of that. Try different things, and you'll find that passion.
Yeah.
And if you are able to turn that passion into a career, I honestly believe that is a blessing. And maybe it's not for everyone either, and that's totally okay. But I think all of us should be able to do something every day that makes us happy and that makes the people around us happy, because we're happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just to touch on that, I know we're kind of wrapping up now, but just to touch on, if you have multiple passions and you don't know which path to go down, try one at a time.
Yes. Yep.
Because when you're trying to try everything, like, oh, but I love this and I love this and I don't know which path to go down because I love so much. It's like, that's amazing. Choose one, go down a path, see how you feel. Doesn't work, go down another path. But that's what I do, like prioritize. Like, which is the one that's burning the most? Try that. And yeah, like just test and innovate. And don't be afraid to then close the door to that and go, well, you like you said, I don't draw anymore. I still have a passion for it, but it's not my priority. It's not my most passionate thing that I do. So I just don't draw. I recognize the time it will take me. I've chosen to not dedicate that time because I've got other passions that the fire is burning higher.
So I think today's superpower would be trying.
Self-assess as well. I'll throw that in.
Today's superpowers is self-assess and try.
Yes.
And keep doing that back and forth until you find what you like.
And that's why we make such a good team.
Yes.
The try and assess.
Try and assess. That should be a song. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Sheroic. I hope you guys are really enjoying the podcast episodes. I love getting together with Lisa and having our chatting time. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that for you.
Absolutely. And again, guys, let us know what tactics and tools you guys use when it comes to passion. If there's other things that we haven't touched upon, we'd love to hear it. Throw it in the comments below. And so if you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, please do rate and review. We'd love to hear from you guys.
And so that is all for today.
That is.
You guys, don't forget,
Be Sheroic! Bye!